The night Elena Voss turned 18, the moon was full and heavy over the Blackthorn territory, and every wolf in the pack gathered to witness the bonding ceremony. She stood at the edge of the stone circle in a simple white dress, her hands trembling, her heart racing with a hope she had carried since childhood. She had heard the stories of fated mates, of the invisible thread that connects two souls, and she had always wondered if she would ever feel that pull. That night, she felt it. The moment Alpha King Damien Cross stepped into the circle, something inside her chest turned over, warm and certain, like a key finding its lock. Damien felt it too. She saw it in the way his eyes widened, the way his breath caught. For one heartbeat, the whole pack held its breath with them, waiting for the Alpha King to claim his fated mate in front of everyone. Instead, he stepped back. Whispers had already spread through the pack that week, ugly and fast, the way rumors always travel among wolves who live too close together. Someone had told Damien that Elena's family, the low-ranking Voss line, had been secretly trading information with the Ashwood pack, a rival territory that had been raiding Blackthorn's borders for months. Damien had not questioned the rumor. He had not asked Elena for her side. He had simply believed it, because his advisor Serafina, a woman from a powerful bloodline who had wanted to be his Luna since they were children, had whispered the story into his ear with tears in her eyes, claiming she only wanted to protect him. So instead of pulling Elena into his arms as tradition demanded, Damien turned to the crowd and spoke words that would haunt them both for 18 years. "This bond is a mistake," he said, his voice hard and cold, though his hands shook at his sides. "I reject you, Elena Voss, as my Luna. You are not worthy to stand beside the Blackthorn throne." The words hit her like a physical blow. A rejected bond was not just an insult, it was a wound that would never fully heal. A scar carved into her very soul that every wolf in the territory would sense whenever she passed. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Some pack members looked away, ashamed for her. Others, loyal to Serafina's family, smiled quietly at the back of the gathering. Elena did not cry in front of them. She would not give them that. She lifted her chin, turned, and walked out of the circle alone, her white dress catching moonlight as she disappeared into the trees. She did not look back once. By the time the sun rose, she was gone from Blackthorn territory entirely, carrying nothing but a small bag, her mother's old necklace, and a secret she had not even told herself yet. She did not know, that night, that she was already carrying Damien's child. Elena settled hundreds of miles away, in a quiet human town called Miller's Creek, where no one knew what a Luna was, where no one could smell the old bond scar that never quite faded from her skin. She built a small life working as a seamstress, renting a modest house at the edge of town, and telling anyone who asked that her husband had died before their son was born. It was easier than the truth. It was easier than admitting that the Alpha King of Blackthorn had cast her aside in front of his entire pack. She named her son Kale, after her grandfather, a steady and safe name, a human name that would not draw attention. From the moment he was born, she loved him with a fierceness that surprised even her. He had Damien's dark hair and sharp jaw, but Elena told herself that did not matter. He was hers. He would grow up strong and kind, and far away from the politics and cruelty of pack life. She promised herself he would never feel the shame she had carried out of that stone circle. For years, her plan worked. Kale grew into a quiet, thoughtful boy who loved building things with his hands, who protected smaller kids at school from bullies without ever raising his voice, who asked his mother sometimes why he never felt quite right in his own skin, like there was something waiting just beneath the surface. Elena always changed the subject. Everything changed on the night Kale turned 16. It happened without warning. Kale had gone for a walk in the woods behind their house, something he often did when he felt restless, and Elena had been finishing supper when she heard the howl. It was not a sound Miller's Creek had ever produced. It rattled windows 3 streets over. It was deep and powerful and ancient, a sound that belonged to kings, not teenage boys from a small human town. Elena dropped the pot she was holding and ran. She found Kale on his knees in a small clearing, his body trembling, his eyes glowing gold in the darkness, the unmistakable signs of a wolf's first shift tearing through him far later and far more violently than any pack elder would have expected. Most wolves shifted for the first time around 13. Kale was 16, and when his wolf finally emerged, the power radiating from him was staggering. Even Elena, who had grown up around pack hierarchy, could feel it pressing against her skin like heat from a fire. She held him through the night as his body finished its first change, whispering the truth she had kept buried for 16 years. She told him about Blackthorn, about the bonding ceremony, about the rejection, about his father, the Alpha King who did not know he existed. Kale listened in silence, his young face pale in the moonlight. When she finished, he asked only one question. Why didn't you ever go back? Elena did not have a good answer. Pride, perhaps. Fear. The wound that had never fully closed. She only said, I wanted you to have a normal life. But there was no normal life left to protect. Kale's wolf had announced itself to every shifter within 100 miles, and word like that did not stay quiet for long, not when the power behind it belonged to a bloodline as old as Blackthorn's throne. 2 years passed after that night, years in which Kale trained himself in secret, teaching his body to control the strength that sometimes felt too big for his skin. He grew taller, steadier, his shoulders broadening into the frame of a young alpha, though he had never set foot in a real pack. Elena watched him grow with a heart full of pride and quiet dread, knowing that a boy with that much power could not stay hidden forever. Meanwhile, in Blackthorn territory, Damian Cross had become a king in name only. The years since Elena's rejection had not been kind to him. Serafina, whom he had eventually taken as his Luna out of duty and guilt, had never been able to produce an heir, and the absence of a true bond between them left the pack's magic thin and strained. Blackthorn's borders, once impenetrable, had grown weak. Rival packs sensed the cracks and began testing them, sending scouts across the boundary lines, whispering that the Alpha King's throne was hollow at its core. Damian felt the truth of it every single day. He had rejected his fated mate, and a king who rejects his true bond weakens the very foundation of his pack's strength. He had told himself for years that he made the right choice, that he had protected Blackthorn from a traitor's daughter. But the years had worn that lie thin, and more than once, he had caught himself standing at the edge of the territory, staring toward the horizon, wondering what had happened to the girl in the white dress, who had once looked at him like he was the answer to every question she had ever had. Serafina, for her part, had grown desperate as her failure to secure an heir became impossible to hide. She began seeking out old, forbidden remedies, meeting in secret with a witch from the northern hills, who promised solutions that came at steep and hidden costs. She told herself it was for the good of the pack. In truth, it was to protect the position she had schemed and lied to obtain. It was on a cold autumn evening that Kale finally felt the pull he could no longer ignore. It started as a faint tug behind his ribs, growing stronger every day, like a compass needle swinging toward true north. He did not know what it meant, only that it was leading him east, toward Blackthorn territory, the place his mother had spent 18 years trying to keep him from. He told Elena he had to go. She did not try to stop him. She had always known this day might come, and some quiet part of her, the part that still remembered the boy who had once looked at her with wonder in the moonlight, wanted to see him again too, even after everything. They arrived at the edge of Blackthorn territory together, on a gray morning, mist curling low over the fields. The moment Kale's feet crossed the invisible boundary line, every wolf on patrol dropped to one knee, their bodies responding before their minds understood why. Word spread through the pack faster than wind. A stranger had crossed the border, and every wolf who caught his scent felt an undeniable pull to kneel before him, the same instinctive response bred into their bones for royal blood. Damian felt it from the pack house, a ripple of submission moving through his territory like a wave, and he knew immediately that something extraordinary had happened. When he arrived at the border himself, he found his warriors kneeling in a circle around a young man he had never met, and beside him, a woman he recognized instantly despite the years that had passed. Elena. For a long moment, no one spoke. Damian's eyes moved from Elena's face to the young man beside her, and the resemblance struck him like a physical blow. The sharp jaw, the dark hair, even the way he stood, feet planted, shoulders squared, was a mirror of Damian's own stance at that same age. "Who is this?" Damian finally asked, though some deep part of him already knew the answer. "His name is Kale," Elena said, her voice steady despite the years of buried pain rising in her chest. He is your son. The words landed across the clearing like thunder. Warriors who were still kneeling lifted their eyes in shock. Damien took a step back, his composure cracking for the first time in 18 years. That's impossible, he said. I would have known. I would have felt it. You rejected me before you gave yourself the chance to feel anything, Elena replied. You never asked me the truth. You only believed the lie. Damien's mind reeled backward through 18 years, through Serafina's tearful warnings, through the rumor about the Ashwood pack that he had never once verified. He looked at Kale again, really looked, and saw not just his own features staring back, but the unmistakable aura of true alpha blood, stronger than anything he had felt in his own son should have been, had he ever had the chance to raise one. The truth unraveled quickly after that. Pack elders, who had long suspected Serafina's manipulations, came forward once Kale's identity was confirmed through the old bonding rites. It became clear that the rumor about Elena's family had been fabricated from the beginning, planted carefully by Serafina to secure her own place beside the throne. Faced with elders who would no longer protect her, Serafina's carefully built world collapsed. In a final desperate act, she attempted to use dark magic, obtained from the Northern Witch, to weaken Kale, before he could be formally recognized, hoping to eliminate the threat to her position entirely. But Kale's power, awakened fully now on his ancestral land, proved far beyond what a stolen spell could touch. The magic Serafina unleashed dissolved against him like mist against sunlight, and the pack, witnessing her true nature laid bare before them, turned against her completely. She was stripped of her title and cast out of Blackthorn territory that same day, her schemes finally answered for after 18 long years. Damien, standing amid the wreckage of the lies he had built his life upon, faced Elena and Kale with nothing left to hide behind. He knelt before them both, an alpha king lowering himself before the mate he had wronged, and the son he had never known. I cannot undo what I did, he said, his voice raw. But I will spend whatever time you allow me trying to earn back what I threw away. Elena did not answer right away. 18 years of pain did not dissolve in a single moment, no matter how sincere the apology. But she saw something in his eyes that had not been there the night he rejected her, a humility born from real loss, and she allowed herself, for the first time in nearly 2 decades, to imagine a future that did not require her to carry this wound alone. In the weeks that followed, the pack elders confirmed what every wolf who had knelt at the border already knew in their bones. Kale was the true heir of Blackthorn, born of a bond that had never truly been broken, only denied. In a ceremony beneath the same full moon that had once witnessed his mother's public humiliation, Kale was formally named heir to the throne, with Damien stepping back from full leadership to guide his son rather than rule over him. Elena stood at the center of the circle this time, not at its edge. The pack that had once watched her walk away in shame now watched her walk forward, honored and restored, as the mother of the king who would lead them into a stronger future. Damien stood beside her, not as the alpha who had rejected her, but as a man finally willing to earn his place at her side, through patience rather than power. Kale looked out at the pack that was now his to protect, then glanced at his mother, the woman who had raised him alone in a small human town, who had given up everything to keep him safe, who had never once complained about the life she had been forced to build from nothing. He understood then that his strength had not come only from his father's bloodline, but from her quiet, unbreakable resolve. Blackthorn's throne had been hollow for 18 years, weakened by a rejection born from lies and pride. It was not power or bloodline alone that finally restored it, but truth, patience, and a mother's unwavering love, returning at last to claim what had always rightfully belonged to them.